لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله ما لنا رب سوى لا إله إلا الله.
Level must not be made a condition for a lower level. Sometimes we mix up things. Something which is needed for entering heaven is not a condition for being just a moral action, a good action. These are different. Okay, so Amal Saleh has to be defined in this way, yes. Mr. Amini also has a question, yeah.
We have some people they are idol worshippers. But also they have believed in one God.
Yeah.
They believe
Not one God.
for example, maybe they had some groups, I think, as I remember. They believe in one God, the rest also we have.
Line Sa'al Tawma. Yeah, but they believe in one creator, but they believe in many gods.
Yes. As a medium somehow, I think the superior one is the creator. So what about them? If they are, they believe the creator as the superior God, and also they have maybe some kind of belief in the judgment. Does this also include them?
No. They are mushrik.
If the rest reject them, the salvation,
Yeah.
because we don't believe in mafhum. Yeah.
They have to believe in one God, to be submissive to one God. If they are mushrik, then it's different. But Quran doesn't treat Christians as mushrik. Christians are treated in Quran as monotheists. Even today in religious studies, they consider Christianity as a monotheist religion. No, it's not metaphor.
For example, we have today many followers of Hinduism. Do you believe that all of them are would not be in the day of salvation, for example?
No, not to go to heaven doesn't mean that that person goes to hell. There are people who don't go to heaven, but also they are not sent to hell. They can be in between. It depends on many factors. But to enter heaven, there must be iman. Billah wal yawm al-akhir wa amal salah. This is the condition for entering heaven. But maybe an idol worshipper is not sent to hell. He's forgiven. If he's excused, he's forgiven. He will remain between hell and heaven. Mr. Amini, I think, was ahead. Yes. Mm. Mm. So, what is your point?
My point is that you cannot treat all as one sentence and one proposition. Like, for example, all the Christians
Yeah.
right? So those who are Christians and believe at Israel, this criteria is mentioned for
So they don't need to become Muslim?
If they really follow the orders and the rules, for sure they will find Islam as the
So if they haven't found it, it means that they are not Christians. So you want to say if they haven't found Islam, they are not Christians?
No, if they follow the
Okay, so we have a Christian who has not come to Islam. So can you say he is not a good Christian? Because if he was a good Christian, he would have found Islam.
even you can say the same thing about the modern Catholics. So there are actually there are some brothers who cannot see all of them.
No, we are not the same. The question is there a chance for a Christian today to enter heaven while he is still a Christian? This is the question, and you have to explain yes or no.
Old answer that if they have searched, for example, they have found Islam. For example, there are a couple of them that we didn't search and they are not in position to search. They are almost like a family. They are Muhammad and they are not church. But those who are, they are political, they are violent, for sure they are not in those who are outside this. But the people of the Islam, you can knowledge that. We have
So-
to be according to
So
Islam,
how do you interpret this verse? Man amana billah wal yawm al akhir. How do you interpret it so that it includes jahil qasir, but it doesn't include jahil muqassir? Because both qasir and muqassir, they believe in one God. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
We should separate the discussion, I think, of this into two parts. The first is jurisprudential point of view. Is it an obligation for a Christian to become Muslim or not? This one that I heard and accepted it from the tradition.
You mean legal obligation?
Obligation means according to jurisprudence. This obligation.
This is not a fiqh issue. It's not a fiqh issue.
I know in general when Allah, Almighty Allah speak about these people, sometimes He addresses Ya ayyuhan nas, and it shows that Allah is speaking to all people, not just Muslims, not just
Sure.
Jews, not Christians. But we should make clear that I think our question is that it's obligatory that the Christian become a Muslim or Jews become Muslim or not. But I heard some tradition. I think we can interpret through our ahadith some tradition. And somebody asked our prophet that I'm a Christian. Should I be a Muslim or not? And our prophet answered that if Jesus Christ was in this time, he would be a Muslim. I didn't find it tradition, but I heard so many times. I think we should according to the morality or the not just that issue. We can say that everybody who do the good deeds, Allah will accept from her. But according to jurisprudence and faith, is it an obligation or not? I think we should search among the traditions.
Obligation for what? For acceptance of action, you mean?
The term Islam in Quran, I think, has several meanings, not just the Islam as a religion.
Mhm.
You cannot think as the Islam that it mentions not as a religion, but to accept what
Okay.
is according to the truth.
Okay, Mr. Jaffer, thank you very much. The last one.
In the Bible, there is a story about Jesus Christ.
Mm.
It says that when he appears and when he declares the religion, he says that I don't want to change Judaism
Mm.
and Judaism
Torah.
jurisprudence. But I see some deviations among these religion, so I want to correct them. So if we follow the original version of these religions, we would be in salvation way, salvation. But we don't know the correct version and original version of this religion. So we should follow the last religion, which is Islam. So by this new evidence, everybody who doesn't accept the last version of divine religions, he is mu'assir. And
Why?
because he doesn't know the original comments of, for example, Christianity.
Okay, so he's jahil. But why he is muqassir?
Because he knows more about the last version of this religion, which is Islam.
If yes, so if
I said
he is not convinced, if he had no access,
he,
just not to know is not
he knows
making him.
about the miracles of Holy Prophet Islam. These stories, for example, miracles. These stories is similar to stories of Musa and Jesus Christ. So he should judge about them.
If he has enough evidence, but maybe someone doesn't have access to sources, so you cannot say everyone is muqassir. It's up to Allah to judge whether
About this evidence.
it's up to Allah to judge whether he was really capable of finding out the truth or not. Okay, I think I should start, and I thank you for your ideas. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآل الطيبين الطاهرين. This issue is, in a sense, easy, but in another sense, it's a very difficult issue. And I think many times people don't get it right. Sometimes they emphasize on one aspect and neglect another aspect. Before Islam, there seems to be a kind of unpleasant attitude towards religion. Religious communities gradually, over time, developed a very strong attachment to figures, to certain personalities, to their prophets. And somehow they try to get their identity from this attachment. So, for example, if you are a Christian, it means that you are a follower of Jesus. Okay? If you are a Jew, you are a follower of the religion of Israel. Of course, Jews don't attach themselves that much to Prophet Musa as we normally think. We think that Jews love Prophet Musa like Christians love Isa alayhi salam. It's not the case. Musa is one of the prophets of Bani Israel. Of course, it's important, but it's not one of the, characteristics of Jews to treat Moses like we treat our prophet or Christians treat their prophet. But they get their identity from Prophet Yaqub, and over time they have become a nation, a very distinct nation. And they reach the point that at least those in Arab Peninsula, they said these attachments to these figures are so important that no one can enter heaven unless he identify himself with Judaism or Christianity. So in a sense, you can say faith in God became marginal. So instead of asking whether you believe in God or not, the main thing was whether you believe in this figure or that figure, whether you belong to this community or that community. This was a sad phenomenon. And according to this attitude, Ibrahim alayhi salam, who stood before the formation of these two communities, has no identity. Yeah? Because he's neither Jew nor Christian. And any prophet before Ibrahim alayhi salam. On the other hand, the way that the prophets themselves preached was different. They didn't want people to be divided into different religious communities. They didn't want people to attach themselves to the prophets. They all asked people to believe in God, to be submissive to God. There could be only one religion, and that is Islam. Not Islam in the narrower sense that we are talking today. Islam as a way to submit yourself to God. Prophet Ibrahim was a Muslim. Prophet Yaqub said to his children, "La tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun." So either you submit yourself to God and act upon it, or you don't submit yourself to God and do mischief. So there are two ways. Okay? I believe the Quran is trying hard to restore that attitude that the prophets presented, but unfortunately it was lost. Quran is inviting people back to one religion, and that is submission to God. That is Islam. Okay? Not Islam in contrast to Judaism and Christianity. Islam as an umbrella that can include any person who submits himself to God, believes in the hereafter, and tries to do righteous deeds. Okay? If you have this religion, then in every era, in every generation, you would do your best to please God as much as you can. You try to find the truth and commit yourself to the truth. So maybe the best message today is, for example, Judaism. Maybe another time is Christianity. Maybe another time is Islam. You are not attached to any particular name or figure. You want to please God. So, like for example, Salman. Salman apparently was a Zoroastrian. Then he met a Christian monk and he was impressed. He and his friend, used to listen to that monk. There is a beautiful story in Al-Mizan also, this is mentioned. Anyway, finally he left with that monk. He went to Mosul. He joined the monastic community there. Then that monk invited him to go to Jerusalem, and he was learning there. And one day Salman said that I feel very sad that unlike previous generations, we are not able to meet any prophet. They were very lucky and fortunate that they could see prophets. So one very old Christian monk, maybe the same person, told him that a prophet is going to come. I may not be able to witness him because I'm too old, but maybe you can witness him. And said, he's coming to Hijaz. So Salman went to Medina and started working as a laborer outside Medina in some gardens. And one day he heard that a person has, come and he claims to be a prophet. That Christian monk had told him that the new prophet has 3 signs. One is that he has a mark on his shoulder. Second is he doesn't accept charity. Third is he accepts gift. So Salman went and was going around looking for an opportunity so that he could see the shoulder of the prophet when it comes, obvious, when the shirt goes away. And the prophet realized, so showed him his shoulder. And then he bought some meat, some bread, and brought to the prophet and said, this is charity. The prophet refused. Then he went again and bought some meat and bread and said, this is hadiyah. The prophet said, everyone should come and eat. The people who were around. And then it is said that Salman was speaking about his story and the Christians that he met and they used to worship together. And some Muslims there said their worship is useless. Salman was sad. And then this verse was revealed that approved that there is a value for their worship. Anyway, what is important is that Islam is trying to restore the original attitude towards religion. We have one religion, we have one community of the faithful. Everyone who tries to submit himself to God, he is a member of this family. Of course, in the same way that we expect all different schools of Islam to do their best to find the best school, again, people from different religious communities should do their best to find out what is the best religion today. Okay? But the main thing is what? The main thing is the submission that you should have in your heart to God, who is the truth. So, if a person is really concerned about the truth, he wants to find the truth. Okay? He looks for the truth. He doesn't just sit at home and says, yes, if truth comes, and a prophet knocks my door, I'm going to accept. He goes around to find the truth. He studies. And he is also opening his heart to the truth. Sometimes truth comes to you, but you have closed your heart. You don't listen. You don't, let the truth come to your heart. So if somebody is concerned about the truth and searches for the truth, opens himself to the truth, either he finds finally the truth in most of the time. If he doesn't find the truth, he can be still considered as a member of this community which is submissive to God. Okay? So, we are not justifying the people who try to remain under one title and they don't want to, try anything else. But at the same time, we are not making the claim that we have monopoly over salvation. Maybe there are Muslims who don't have this submission. Maybe there are non-Muslims who are still believers in God and have this submission to God. Okay? So you cannot say every Muslim goes to heaven. Man amana billah wal yawm al-akhir wa amila salihan. And you cannot say every non-Muslim goes to hell. No. If they have amana billah wal yawm al-akhir wa amila salihan, they can go to heaven. At the same time, we didn't justify other religions, but we said that there is a chance for people to be able to get into heaven. There's a good way of explaining this. So we say that today other religions may not be justified, but they can be excused. Okay? So we don't say that they are justified in the sense that then they have choice. They can say we want this or that. No. But still it's possible that they can be excused if they have the basic requirement. What is the basic requirement? Submission to God. Why the hereafter is important, I think maybe I explained last week, I don't know. The second question. Why the belief in the hereafter is very important? Because if you believe that God is your Lord and you have to be answerable to God, you have to accept that this cannot fully materialize in this world. Because in this world, people keep doing things up to the last moment of their life. So for sure, there must be another time that we can be judged and we can be accountable for what we do. Yeah? Because you are doing many things up to the last moment of your life. So it's very obvious that it cannot be judged when you are alive. And many things also happen as a result of what you have been doing. Maybe you do something, the result appears after 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. Maybe you guide people and you benefit for several hundred years. Maybe you misguide people. So it's very clear that the accountability cannot be fully achieved if we only believe in this world. So we have to believe in God. We have to believe that we have to please God. We have to be answerable to God about our performance. And this can only happen if you believe in the hereafter. And also, وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. If you really believe in God, your action must be different from a person who doesn't believe in God. If you are serving God, your action must be different from the one who is serving his ego. So, عَمِلَ صَالِحًا. So, I think that this ayah is doing a very delicate, very subtle operation. Are you here? Everyone is listening? It's a very delicate operation here. There are people who are saying we are Jews, we are Christians, we are Nasara, we are Sabi'in, so on and so forth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in my understanding, let's for the moment don't speak too much about these names. Okay? Go to the basic. What do you want out of these names? If you want submission to God and the hereafter and doing righteous deeds, we are together. Okay? So don't focus, don't emphasize too much on being a Christian or Jews or Nasara or Sabi'in or so on and so forth. Focus more on this. And if their mentality is changed, then to become a Muslim would be very easy. And even if they don't become a Muslim and they remain what they are, but they are submissive to God, they are very close to Muslims. All the problem starts when we are attached to these titles. And sometimes we forget God. You know, sometimes these titles become so important for us that we forget God. Or sometimes, you know, within one school of religion, for example, Sunni, Shia, different schools of Islam, sometimes we forget Islam and the Prophet Muhammad, and we are so much attached to our own particularities. So, I think this is also giving us a lesson that what should be our approach to different religions. You have to a little bit open your view, broaden your view. You cannot remain very exclusivist and close-minded and expect to be a good ambassador of Islam. If you want to be a good ambassador of Islam, you have to broaden your vision without losing your identity. I'm not saying to become liberal, to become, a person, pardon? Yeah, pluralism has different names, different, sense, meanings. Some forms of pluralism is like pluralism in salvation, we may accept. But pluralism in the sense of having different religions which are equally valid, this we don't accept. So we don't want to become pluralist in that sense. We don't want to become liberal. We don't want to be a person who is not proud of his Islam. No, we are proud of Islam. And we think Islam is the best religion. But at the same time, we shouldn't look down upon other people and say, no, God has nothing to do with you. We have God with us. God is not yours. God is ours. Something strange that you find in some Christian circles and also in some Muslim circles is that even they have become too much attached to the name of God. In some Christian websites, I don't know if you are familiar, they very much talk against Allah. They say God is different from Allah. Allah is so and so and so, and God is love, mercy, And they don't understand that even in Arabic translation of the Bible, God is translated as Allah. On the other hand, there are some Muslims, when they see some Christians use the term Allah, they get angry. In one of the Asian countries, I don't want to mention where, they took some Christians to the court. Why you use the term Allah? Allah is for us, not for you. And you are, misguiding people. But I think if you are really a lover of that reality, the name is not important. You should be happy whoever is mentioning that name. You shouldn't say, this is my God, it's not your God. And this is, I think, the problem of Shaitan. What was the problem with Shaitan? Shaitan had love for God. But what type of love for God? Shaitan had a kind of love for God that I call it possessive love. The first time I mentioned this was in Italy. We had a discussion with some Christian friends. I said, in my view, we have two types of love for God. Sometimes it's possessive. I love God because I want to own God. God is serving my interests. Okay? So if you have possessive love for God, instead of you serve God, you want God to serve your interests. And if you see that there is someone else who also loves God, then that's a rival. And if you see God ask you, to love, for example, someone else, you feel very angry. You feel, jealous. Why my God, who belongs to me, is showing respect to someone else? Why my God, that I worshipped him for 6,000 years, is now asking me to do sajda for Adam? But we have another type of love. And that is when God possesses you. You don't want to possess God. God is possessing you. When you want to possess God, then God becomes very limited according to your capacity. If I, as an Iranian, possess God, then my God becomes God of Iranians. Yeah? So then my God would be against other nations. If as a Muslim I possess God, then my God be God of Muslims, then would be against any other religions. But if God possesses me, then I would be expanded like God. So I would be a man for humanity, not a man for my own nation or for my own religion. So this quite opposite. Instead of you restricting God, God expands you. So this is, I think, what the Quran is trying to do. And if we follow this direction that the Quran is telling us, gradually we should be able to have less and less fights and conflicts. Focus on the main thing, and that is submission to God, believe in the hereafter, and do righteous deeds. Everyone who is trying to do this should be very close to us. Even if he is from another religion or he has another school of the same religion. Much closer to us than someone who may be carrying the same title but he has no submission to God. Okay? If, for example, if there is a Muslim who is unjust, who is vicious, who kills people, who mistreats people, who doesn't think about akhirah, he does whatever he wants. But he says, I'm a Muslim, he believes in God just as a theory in his mind. But if there is a person who is a Christian, but he's really submissive to God, he wants to please God, he does everything good, which one is closer to you? There are many people that I have to excuse them. So I don't know who was the first. Mr. Muhammadi, I think, was the first.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Okay. Okay. So Mr. Muhammadi, then you, or
Then Mr. Dogu is
and who else? Okay. Okay.
There are a number of questions, but I just want to ask one of them, which is about the other religions who does not have not appreciated these two factors, believing in one God and believing in the hereafter. For example, the Hindus, I think the master of this, as I remember, they believe in one God, at least some of them for sure believe in one God, and even though they might not believe in the hereafter, they believe in the reincarnation. So what about them? Can we say that these people, even though they are under the path of truth seeking, could you say that, for example, these people are going to be saved just like the ones who have these two criteria or not?
You mean to go to heaven or to be forgiven?
No, to go to heaven.
No, to go to heaven you should have these three. آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا.
I think you said that they are going to be,
If they don't have these three, they can be forgiven.
just for
They don't go to hell.
what Christians will do. They're going to go to heaven.
Yes, if they have آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا. Who has this and who doesn't have, it's not my job. I am not, putting myself in the position to judge. It's up to Allah.
Why
I cannot decide who is qasir, who is muqassir.
a person who believes in God or believes in the hereafter is going to go to hell, but the one who goes to heaven, right? And the one who does not have this belief is going to go to hell, or not, at least not being chastised.
Because Quran says the condition for going to heaven, and there are many hadiths also, the condition for going to heaven is to have iman and amal salih. If you don't have iman billah wal yawm al akhir, you don't go to heaven. You'd say an atheist can go to heaven?
One might say.
So what is your argument? There are so many verses and hadiths against this, but if you have an argument, I don't mind. I wish everyone can go to heaven. I don't have any reason to feel the Jahannam, but as far as I understand, and I think I haven't seen any scholar saying that atheists can go to heaven. No. Qasir, Qasir, if he doesn't believe in God, he can be forgiven, but he doesn't go to heaven. Going to heaven needs faith in God. But you can bring. What we understand is this: Man amana billah wal yawm al akhir wa amila salihan falahum ajruhum inda rabbih. This has mafhum. Means if he doesn't have iman and amal salih, there is no reward in the hereafter for him. But if you can bring that, I don't mind. Yes. Who was the second? You were the second? Yes.
My question is about computer or.
But did you get the point or not? The point, you got it? It's very important. Whether you accept or not is another issue. But it's very important. So at least think about it. It's A'raf according to one sense. Because A'raf has different meanings. One meaning of A'raf is this: a place between hell and heaven.
About, I didn't get the point exactly about the day of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
This is my question. We have, for example, some days, like days, not days. They want to believe in God by nationalism, not the religion. And they are moral people also. They don't do bad action. They have some boundaries for them. And if you confront them, many of them are very honest people, very good-hearted people. With respect to their words, if we want to have mafhum here, we have to say they won't go to the heaven. But I think maybe because they believe in God, even not
They believe in one God.
Yes. Some days then, these people, they believe in one God, but
And the hereafter.
nationalism. But maybe not hereafter in a sense we believe in it. For example, they believe in persistence of the creation, and they believe that there are some moral value they have to protect it, they have to be committed to it. But they are not followers of a specific kind of religion.
No, this is important. آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا.
The question, I know, is the verse.
Then there can be cases that are not clear. You know, we have always black, white, and gray. Gray area is where it's not clear. الراسخون في العلم, they leave it to God.
Maybe the verse hasn't mafhum here, I mean. But maybe there are other groups that they can have also the foundation, but it's not clear. So
No, if you say that, for example, even without iman and without amal salih, lahum ajrum inda rabbihim. So what is the point in saying this? You say whether they have iman or amal salih or not, falahum ajrum inda rabbihim. So the whole verse is na'udhu billah meaningless.
no, exactly, because we have to be.
But what type of iman in Allah? This is your question. Okay, maybe there are cases that we don't know.
My question was exactly about the hereafter. But they don't have they don't believe in the hereafter in the sense we mean it.
It doesn't mean need to be like us, because Christians also may have another understanding. But what is important is to believe in eternal life, to believe that we have to be answerable to God. There would be punishment and reward. Details are something that can be, even from people in the same religion, can be different.
What if they don't believe? Why Allah should put in that condition? Because the one who believes in Allah and has the moral.
Because if you, as I said, if you don't believe in the hereafter, it means that you don't believe in the necessity of being answerable to God. Because in dunya you cannot be answerable.
They don't believe in this society.
You know,
They believe in hereafter, but they also believe that, for example, in this world, they will be punished by Allah because of their bad deeds. Maybe not in another world, but they believe in some kind of punishment in the same world.
it cannot be. Because, as I said, up to the last moment of your life, you are still working. And you cannot be rewarded or punished for what you have been doing in the last minute, first. Second, the outcomes of your action also would not stop by your death. Second. Third, sometimes people in this world, because Allah wants to test people, up to the last moment Allah gives them power, gives them money, they have nice life. So this world cannot be the world for establishing justice. If you believe in the necessity of justice, you have to believe in another life.
Some of them, in the real incarnation, they believe in it.
Okay, incarnation is a misunderstanding. Those who believe in incarnation, reincarnation, they understood that there must be another life, but they were unfortunately confused. They thought that you can come back to this world and there are arguments against that. It's not hereafter, but again, that's a gray area. We leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. We have many things to do. Yes.
I think this idea seems as the ideal view that we never could reach to that.
Which idea view?
That any kind of worshiping, for example, for Allah, if it's as its criteria, it would be acceptable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because the way of worshiping, I think, is important. Saying prayer is not equal to going to the church every week. And we should have a clear border.
Yes.
And because we have different
Did we say these are not important?
As you stated, they are not important.
No.
Because what is important, doing the good deeds, whether it's through the saying prayer or going to the church. And we have different verses
We didn't say.
in the Quran that ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ أَنْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَكَانُوا بِهَا يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. It means that this kind of religion that we believe according to Quran that they are not true religions and they are not true books, when you do according to that books they are not true, they would have a wrong effect on you, on your personality.
No, this verse is not relevant. Asa or Su'a doesn't apply to a Christian who is trying to please God up to the last moment of his life. And the best reason is because they never كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَكَانُوا وَيَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. These are for the people who disobey God and they know that they are disobeying God. This doesn't apply to a person who is wholeheartedly trying to please God. They never deny God. I didn't say the differences are not important. If the differences were not important, so why we are doing this surgery? But I'm saying that if you want people to appreciate the extra that you have, are you with me? If you want people to appreciate the extra that you have to appreciate the common point that you share. If I tell you I disagree with you 100%, then he says, okay, so Khuda Hafiz. If I say we agree on 90%, and that is the faith in God and the hereafter, and then that 10%, which is very important, you cannot say that 10% is not important, okay? Then you can expect that person to listen to you and come to you and find a way to communicate. The main thing is faith in God. Even if, for example, when the Prophet ﷺ came, many of these rules were not legislated at the beginning. They were Muslims without praying, without fasting. Even they were, for example, drinking. These were gradually legislated. These are very important. I don't want to say these are not important. These are very important, but these are not the most fundamental things. Maybe a person became a Muslim and died before these things were legislated. Maybe a person embraces Islam at 10 o'clock in the morning and at 11 o'clock he dies. He has no prayer, he has no fasting, no hajj, but he's a mu'min. Because when there is submission to God, then you have what? Iltizam, you have commitment. That commitment is very important. You want to commit yourself to act according to the will of God. This is the main thing. Act according to the will of God.